and welcome to Be the Media Huntington. My name is Jenny Lee, and tonight I'm here with Dina
Hi, guys.
and Lisa.
Hi, everyone.
We got a doozy tonight, don't we? We decided that we were going to talk about last week's town board meeting as part of our discussion item, and I started reviewing it just to make sure I was up to speed. Dina went. She was
I
physically
did.
there.
It was interesting.
So I just looked and I started to review it. It was almost 4 hours long. So how late did you stay?
I think I left. It started at 7, and I'm pretty sure I left between 9:15 and 9:30ish. It was a lot going on with the people leaving town board, and Frank got his little sign and his little alley named after him, and Susan had to get her accolades and things like that. Tracy, is very humble, but hers was extremely brief. They let us know that Joan Sergel would be replacing Susan as Susan resigned. It was a lot of back and forth. I guess Newsday was also doing an interview with people, so you had people going back and forth. And there was a tremendous cry out from the community for the name was LAP, which is lap, and the little shelter for cats or something to that effect. And they had over 100 speakers just for that. And it was very interesting. What I didn't like about the town hall meeting this go round was there were children. Frank, because there was so many people, Frank only gave people a minute to speak. However, there were two young ladies, and they were like 10 and 11 that were speaking. And you kind of got to give kids a little bit of a leeway because it's already hard for them to speak in front of everybody. And these kids are 10, and you're in front of officials and people you don't know. And the lady that was doing the dinging for the time really cut her off and didn't allow the little girl to finish. I thought that was really distasteful. That really annoyed me. I don't mind for an adult because but and it was only two of them. And what was sad was one shelter allows anyone to volunteer, and the other shelter only you have to be 16. So these young ladies were from the shelter where you can any age, and they was expressing if you close the shelter, we won't have any things to do. And we have friends that also help us that come back and forth. So I think it would be important for them to get their point across. But each one of them, she was like a minute, boom, that was it. And I don't know who it was who was doing the timing, but her and Tracy got into it a bit because she was like, that's inappropriate. You let the child finish. She's a kid. So, and then they had the thing with term limits, but I left because it was too much. It was already dragging on too long.
And you're trying to be fostering a whole new generation of people to be civically engaged, and you can't spare two little girls. I actually did see that. I was reviewing it before we came on, and that was one of the things that I said, I should clip this. Look at this precious little young lady, and then look how they cut her off. And also, when they closed the one hearing on Little Shelter after the 100, there was over 100 speakers.
Yeah.
This thing was 4 hours long, and even at a minute, it was an hour and a half before they were done speaking. So I get but really, she didn't even wait 8 minutes this time. This long. Let's send her to Little Shelter. Do you have any room over there? All right, I'll let her out in a minute. Yeah, I also thought that was pretty sad. There was two very young ladies, and we should be fostering a love for civic engagement, and that's not what they were doing there.
Yeah.
They might not want to ever do that again. It's a shame.
I thought that was very distasteful. And also, my son came with me. He's the 13-year-old one, and the 13-year-old, he's interested in politics. So I've always taken him with me since he was a little kid. So he's gone to quite a few town board meetings, and he goes to other meetings with me. And he was like, I can't believe they did that to her. And she was younger than he was. And he was like, if that happened, I would never want to say anything in front of these people again.
Exactly.
So, you know, the point you just made, Jenny, we're trying to get these young people involved, and everybody's always asking, oh, how can we get the young people involved? Well, that's not a way to do it.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. And the way he said it too, it's like Frank gets to, first of all, it's Frank's last meeting.
Yeah.
But he gets to just change the rules right before the meeting. Okay, we have so many speakers, and I get it, but that's part of your job, is to listen to your constituents. It's just part of it. 3-minute meeting doesn't mean you get to shave it down.
Yeah.
So there were so many interesting parts and components on this. What I think is most concerning to me is, well, there was a hot mic moment, and I want to go ahead, since I already have my thing on here, and bring that one to you, and then we'll go back and we'll talk about all the appointments that they made for the new board.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Which really seems unfair, because it shouldn't be the new board. It should be the old board. You should be able to have your people that you're going to specifically be working with, that are appointed by the people who are elected. Or there should be like a kind of rule that's in place, that says whoever's third runner-up in the election, if a seat becomes available, that they go ahead and take that person. But it just seemed like Susan Berlin being able to just that night say, we're going to go ahead and appoint Joan Sergall, it just reeks of, it's morally wrong to me. So here we are at the town board meeting. Can you guys see my screen there?
Yes.
Okay, good. So this was well into the night, 3 hours and 38 minutes, right?
Okay.
So I'm going to let you sit there, and you're going to watch this just for a couple of minutes. I'm going to point out a couple things as we go, though. Ready?
Yep.
Seconded by Councilwoman Berland. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Opposed.
Resolution is adopted. 4 ayes, 1 no. The no is Councilman Brooke.
Mr. Supervisor, if I may have the floor, please.
Please.
I'd like to read a letter I'm submitting to the town clerk. I am hereby submitting my resignation from the position of councilman, town of Huntington, effective December 13th, 2017 at, what time is it?
What time is it?
10:43.
10:43 p.m. It has been a privilege to serve the people of the town of Huntington for the past 16 years. I am thankful for having had that opportunity. I wish the new town board much success as they undertake to represent the interests of the people of this great town. So I'm signing this letter, and I am handing it pursuant to town law to Joanne Rhea. And I would ask the town attorney, are there any other things I have to do to facilitate the resignation?
Yes. The only additional thing that has to be done tonight for the resignation to be effective tonight would be for the town clerk to make sure to date stamp this evening.
All right, so Ms.
Well,
Rhea, I would ask you if you could please make sure that this is date stamped this evening.
okay, but you're putting in there effective 10:43.
Yes.
Did you write that in there?
I did, 10:43.
Okay.
And it's
I'm
on
giving
the
a
tape.
copy to the supervisor and a copy to the town attorney. And I am hereby resigning my position on the town board. Thank you very much, everyone, for your support for the last 16 years.
Thank you, Susan,
now-
for your support and
Now watch this. They think the meeting's over.
your good work.
Cindy, wake up.
Protest petition. Did you hear that? We have a protest petition, and they're demanding 4 people vote. Listen,
You gotta take care of this.
go take care of this.
Gotta, still.
Watch Cindy. Keep your eye on Cindy.
Can you pass that to Cindy, please? No, we did not close the meeting.
Oh, all right. Okay. All right, we're still in session.
Okay, so, can't discuss this now. I'm sorry, we're still in the meeting.
See?
Yes, but we're voting.
Okay.
Am I on? All right, Mr. Supervisor, at this time, I would move to add a late starter, motion to the agenda.
Did you catch all that?
What were we looking for?
Were you watching? Can you still see my screen?
Yeah.
Were you watching the town attorney, Cindy Mangano?
Yes.
She's shoo-shooing away her assistant. We can't discuss this right now. We have a protest petition. They're not even acknowledging the protest petition. Listen to this.
It's for a vote of 4.
Okay, we gotta take care of this.
What?
Gotta take care of it. Still.
Even Mark says we got to take care of this.
Can you pass that to Cindy, please? No, we did not close the meeting.
Nope.
Now watch her when she gets back to her seat. What happens with her and her assistant?
All right, we're still in session.
Watch her over here.
Can't discuss this now. I'm sorry, we're still in the meeting.
Oh, we can't discuss this now. I'm sorry, we're still in the meeting. Okay.
Yes. Please, listen.
All right, Mr. Supervisor, at this
Protest
time,
petition.
I would move to add a late starter, motion to the agenda. And it's a resolution appointing councilperson to the town of Huntington
And they completely ignore it. Hold on.
Town Board to fill a vacancy, Joan Circle.
Second.
Okay.
On the motion,
On the motion. This is to add to the agenda.
yes. Oh, okay, I'm sorry, then I'll wait. Go ahead, call the vote.
Motion to add Resolution 2017-580 to the agenda, sponsored by Councilman Cuthbertson, seconded by Councilwoman Edwards. Now, since Councilwoman Berlin left the podium because she has resigned effective 10/43, it is now
What a mess.
10/46. All in favor of that motion?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Opposed.
So we have 3 ayes, 1 no.
Okay, at this time, I offer resolution, it's 580, correct? Okay.
Yes.
Appointing councilperson to the town of Huntington Town Board to fill a vacancy.
Second.
Second,
On the motion.
On the motion.
Okay, so I want everybody to see this. I just received this now. Obviously, this was planned before since Susan Berlin told everybody about it at the beginning of the meeting, which was a problem for me. Joan Sergel came into my office the other day and told me she absolutely did not want to run for this position. She since grabbed me out in the hall and said she changed her mind. But I absolutely think this is the wrong thing to do. The voters of the town of Huntington went out and voted for new direction coming in, and you're taking that away from them. This should be going out to the new board. With that being said, I'll be voting no.
All right, with that, I would respectfully disagree with the characterization. I don't, I was voted back to the town board. I don't think I represent a new direction. And I do believe that Councilwoman Berlin was elected as a Democrat, and that this board has every right to choose her replacement based on her resignation, and someone, whether they're a registered Democrat or whatever it is, we're entitled to fill that vacancy, and it's the responsible thing to do.
And I definitely agree with everything you said, except that I just got it now. And obviously Susan Berlin knew about it before I did. And if this was going to be a possibility, the idea of the town board is to have a discussion and say, these are the people that we're going to put up. What do you think?
I understand.
On the motion?
On the motion.
So Councilwoman Berlin spoke very eloquently in the beginning of the meeting as to all of the contributions that she has made for the town and her reasons for resignation. I would like to echo my support as well for Councilwoman Thurgood. She is a community advocate. She's compassionate about the community. She is professional. She has worked on all of the great things to move this town. And she will absolutely be willing to work with the new town board. I am pleased to support her position to this and grateful for the opportunity that she will be able to, I know, without question, work on all of the things that stand for what's right in this community. And I thank you for accepting this appointment.
I also want to echo my support for Joan Circle. Joan has acted first. She was in my office and did wonderful things with economic development. We moved her to community development because we had to develop that agency and develop our housing programs as well as expand our economic development programs. And Joan has been noted for moving in many new directions when it came to that. We formed a LLC corporation, which goes out and assists communities and assists nonprofits in borrowing funds and backing them so that they can use that within their communities. Joan has worked with all members of the board, and she's noted for being someone who is nonpartisan when it comes to her activities in town hall and when it comes to her actions as a professional. So I echo, as the outgoing supervisor, I would have been delighted to serve with Joan Circle. Joan, congratulations.
Okay, I have to have a point of order called here, since I'm the one who has to keep the minutes and make sure that long after we're all gone, we know what happened today. So, Councilwoman, my suggestion is that we indicate that Councilwoman Berland, you have this on the record, Janice, resigned her position as councilwoman as of 10:43 p.m., excuse me, and left the dais. You can turn it around. She left the dais, and at 10:46 p.m., the motion was made to add Resolution 2017-580 to the agenda.
Okay, so
it's clear.
So noted on the record.
So it's clear. So now we'll go back and vote on Resolution 580, which is sponsored by Councilman Cuthbertson, seconded by Councilwoman Edwards. And can I call the vote on that? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Opposed.
Resolution is adopted, 3 ayes, 1 no. And if Joan is here, since she takes effect immediately, I can administer the oath of office.
And there it is. And there it is. How about that nonsense at the beginning? There was a protest petition. It was ignored by every one of them, calling for a supermajority.
Well, I think when Susan, what it seems like is when Susan threw, I guess everyone wasn't made aware of what was going on. So that throws it into a sense of chaos, because if you resign in the middle of a meeting, it kind of fumbles everything, because can you effectively have, that's why we have so many people on the town council. You can't effectively vote with only 4 people.
They added it for a vote after a 4-hour meeting. It wasn't on the agenda. And he found out about it when she said it, when you were there at the beginning. You left at like 9:30. She said at 49:03 is what I marked in case we wanted to go back and review it. And as I got further in, I was like, there's a saga going on here.
Isn't that what
Remember,
it does?
I was texting you during the meeting, and you kept asking me about a vote.
You were like, no, yeah. I was like, who voted? How did they vote? Like, anytime there's anything, it has to be offered in a resolution. That's why, people say Cook hasn't got much done. He hasn't had the opportunity. You have to be able to present your idea. You have to get a second to open up a discussion. Then if it's you have to, just to get a public hearing, Then there has to be, during that public hearing, that's when you allow for public commentary. And then after the public hearing, you can vote within, I believe, 90 days. It's either 60 or 90 days that you can vote within that time by offering a resolution and having it seconded. So there's a whole course of Robert's Rules of Orders that happen in order to make things law. I know a lot of people don't understand that when they walk into meetings for the first time, if they've never been to PTA meetings or anything like that, that
they don't know how it goes.
Lisa's cat, I'm sorry, it just threw me off.
She's biting my hair.
Like, I remember when, and Lisa, you were talking about before, when the Maggie Matters March happened, which was an October meeting a long time ago. Was it 2014 of October? That was a good one to review, when Burke showed up and everything. But most of the people who showed up, they wanted to talk about the murders that were happening in Huntington Station. And a lot of the anxiety that built up in the meeting from the crowd was from not understanding that there's a process within government, that there is a protocol and how they approach things and how they create laws. She essentially resigned at 10:23, and they offered a resolution to replace her at 10:46, 3 minutes later.
Just reminds me of a snake slithering into the room and just spraying its poison, like a cobra. That's just what she reminds me of. And everyone else knew except for Jean.
Yeah, that was so dirty of her to do.
Disgusting. It's just disgusting. It just goes to show her character and the rest of them. It really does. It's just embarrassing. I don't even know what else to say.
While I didn't agree with the last minute gesture, I don't know. I can't make a assumption because I don't know all the facts about who was informed, because I'm pretty sure the name was thrown around before that night. But I'm going to refrain from making any comment on that because I don't know all the facts. I am, however, happy that Susan did do that. The new direction of Huntington was pretty clear. And the last thing I wanted was an all-white male board. I think a lot of people felt like that. So at least we got a woman on there so we can have some type of balance. I would have definitely not wanted the new administration to pick the person to go in that seat, because 9 times out of 10, it would have been one of their cronies. And then here we go again.
They were already throwing around the name Jennifer Thompson, just so you know. And as far as Joan Sergel goes, she has had her hands in the EDC, the CDA, and several other projects. One of my favorite ones that you guys know I harp on all the time is across from the Huntington First Aid Community Squad, the veterans housing that just grows weeds and no veterans housing. That's her hallmark of fame. And if that's any indication of what kind of leader Joan is going to be, I haven't really had enough time to bring a lot of stuff. I will say there's a lot of professional stuff that I could bring on Joan, and then there's personal things. And the personal things I don't really feel comfortable coming in this forum with, but I will share freely with you ladies in the background when we have our little get together, so that you have a higher understanding why I think that she's unfit for office. But the professional end of things with Joan Sergel speak for themselves, and I have no problem putting that together for you guys. But the hallmark of that for me is 1000 New York Avenue, and also the veterans housing. She's in charge of getting all the grants, and there's 3 different agencies. I think we talked about this last week. We have the EDC, the CDA, which Frank was just touting how great they are, right? The planning board and all this, and we still have to hire an outside contractor, source the station to revitalize Huntington Station. How screwed up are we that we have 3 levels of government and a private entity, and we still can't fix a small 5-block radius in Huntington Station? It's I don't know.
I think we should go to I think we should go to her pet project and go on top of the mountains there, which are the weeds and the dirt. We take a few local pictures and post them on the Huntington View, and
let everybody see what's.
I still want to know, like, where's the $1.5 million from the Startup New York program that was instituted under Jimmy Conti helped fill out those grants with her, and there's a lot of money that's been flowing through the CDA, the EDC. It's a shell game, and there's so much there that I almost want to say, thank God Joan Sergel was appointed to this position, because now we can finally bring out into the light what's really going on with several layers of very expensive government that we harbor locally.
That's a lot of money. Like you said, where is it? Who has it?
How long? I mean, how long is it going to take to get veterans housing on the corner? This is money that New Yorkers in general have already paid into a fund years ago, and all that we've gotten is some lampposts. I mean, I really want to take you guys there.
Well, I took my mother there, and I was like, this is the veterans housing, and she was so confused. She was like, where? I was like, right there. She was like, where? I don't see anything. I was like, it's right there.
Now think about how much money, and here, ready for this? This is history for you. The man who tore down the building with his backhoe back in 2011 just got elected to the Department of Highways, Kevin O'Reilly. He operated the backhoe 7 years ago that ripped down the two houses that was supposed to replace the veterans housing that's still not there.
Well, I had a different take when it comes to Joan. I've worked with Joan on a few things. We've been on opposite sides. I don't have anything negative to say about her. The projects that we worked on with Source to Station, she came through. She's always been very approachable, at least for me. I've had conversations with her. I think my take on this whole thing is that we have a new administration coming in, right? She's going to be part of the new administration. Even though Mark is still there, it's fairly going to be, it's going to be a little bit of a shakeup. So at this point in time, we already know what the issues are of the town, correct? So we know that the veterans weren't there. So we can either now, one, just keep harping about it. Two, make sure that this new administration really looks into it and gives us answers. Or three, we could just, be like, well, someday it'll get done. I think if Joan was behind it, or she had anything to do with it, and she's now in office, it kind of forces her to address the issue if it's put out in public. I mean, you can only dance, but for so long.
That's why there's almost like a level of gratitude to where now she's being forced a whole new level of accountability in this now. Now you're not the woman behind the scenes. Now you're a town council person, and you need to answer with the intimate knowledge that you have as to where this money has gone.
And I think we have 2 Republicans, we have 2 Democrats, and we have 1 independent.
Which I have to say, I'm so happy about that. Do you know why? It's a better representation of the people in the town. I don't like it if it was all Republicans, if it was all Democrats, and people can't get any new ideas on. I like the fact that Democrats can bring something to the plate, and if they can get a second, they can have a public hearing on something, and the same for the Republicans.
Gene will play a major part in a lot of where he won't be as sheltered as he was, because now either the Democrats are going to need him or the Republicans are going to.
And he just had a full-blown fallout after this whole election debacle with Tony Teep. So I don't know how much, kumbaya healing has been going on in that department. But it's interesting. He is now the key to everything.
Exactly. So his moves, whatever he does, will be watched closely. And I'm sure he's going to have a lot of things put on his plate. So I hope that he isn't tainted by either party.
I hope
and he remains true blue. We'll see.
I think it's hard for anybody. I think that's why term limits. And what a great segue, because I wanted to take us to all of our local friends. I have a little 5-minute segment on them. But that brings us back to term limits. And, the president of the United States he's limited it at an 8-year term, 2 4-year terms. As a PTA president, I was termed out at 2 years, and I never got paid. So when you think about the highest level of government versus what I would consider the lowest level, not that the PTA, I'm not demeaning that in any way, but if you have to look at the scale, top up, bottom down, vice versa, that term limits really, I think even the best intentioned of people, if you soak a cotton ball in alcohol long enough, it becomes a drunk. You know what I mean? Like eventually you become part of the system well, this is the way the game is played, so now I have to make the deal. So I really hope that he doesn't become part of that. And I hope that right now he realizes how much representation he has. I don't know if this is his last term. I mean, are they going to put term limits back up and get the 3-year term, or?
I have a serious doubt in my mind when it comes to term limits, because you have key players that have been in seats for quite a number of years. They're not going to support that.
No, not
key players are. Look how long it took Frank to leave.
Well, you know what they had to do. Well, Frank came from us, from Reagan, from FEMA, from this. He's doused in all of that we're trying to. Eventually, hopefully, politics will right itself. But back in 2010, there was a hearing for term limits, and because they wanted to impose it on people like Joanne Rhea and a couple of other level receiver of taxes, which, by the way, was also appointed, they wanted to impose term limits on those positions as well. And each and every time, the lawmakers, the supervisor and the councilman, the term limits were denied because of the non-law-making positions. There is something to be said about institutional knowledge, especially when it comes to someone who's in a position of being a clerk, understanding where everything is filed and what it's done. And through time, Joanne Rhea does carry a large amount of institutional knowledge for her. And each and every time term limits has been shot down, it's been because of her. And that happened at this last meeting. If you
But
would
at the end of the day, she's still a clerk. She's a town clerk. You don't have to graduate from MIT to become a clerk. So she's been a clerk for how long? I mean, are you gonna, be in your grave still trying to type up? It doesn't work. So how long before you pass the baton on to someone else? And I'm not harping just on Joanne Rhea. We're just talking about her, so that's why I'm talking. We mentioned her, but at what point do you say enough is enough? It's a clerk. I don't care how much institution information you have, it's still a clerk.
And eventually you have to pass the torch.
Yeah.
But even the very first person who spoke after her has been the second person under her. There is so much knowledge that is garnered that is hard to really replace with a position like that. You're not making or creating policy. You're not making or creating laws. You're the historian.
Right.
So in a sense, having somebody who's a historian who has a history, and what I'm saying is by including that position as part of what they want to include under term limits, they're shooting themselves in the foot with getting term limits for the positions that they really need it for, which is the supervisor and the council people. The clerk is just the clerk. And the longer the serving clerk, the longer that history that comes with knowing and serving comes along, they don't affect laws. And I've seen it be put up and shot down, and the only factor that remains the same is Joanne Rhea. It's the only reason they keep losing on term limits. She's really good at what she does. She should serve until she dies, and then the lady who's been under her should take over. It shouldn't be an elected position at this point. Or, maybe to make people feel better. I don't know. You want to elect them, but it shouldn't be put under the same scrutiny as term limits when you're not creating legislation, if that makes any sense. You're filing stuff and you're keeping a history of things. You're not creating laws.
I think that's a great way to look at it. I agree.
I still believe, unfortunately, I still believe we need term limits on everything. God forbid something should happen. Who takes her place if nobody knows what to do? And then if you constantly pass it down to the person underneath them, then we don't have, that's how we have nepotism. We don't have another place for someone else to either add to the history or to gain the knowledge of the history. So it's kind of like you're setting yourself up over and over again, but in a different way.
Yeah.
I don't agree with you, Nana. I don't, not at all. I was just reiterating what I saw as to why it was shut down every time.
No, what you're saying makes sense.
Unsuccessful. But I don't disagree with you that people shouldn't be replaced over time, because no one should be irreplaceable.
Right.
Yeah.
You shouldn't have, one person with just I don't know. I just feel like, but I agree with what you're saying. They don't make they don't make any rules.
Right.
They're just
rules.
boring.
Right. They're the historians. So with historians, you want people who carry the history. But again, it does also come back to, what if you get hit by a truck,
Right. Like anything happens, then what do we do? But
yeah. But I have to say, LuAnn, who works underneath her, she has a great amount of knowledge as well. If anything was to happen to Miss Rhea, she would be a really great, I would be like, you have to promote this woman, elect her. Do you want me to go ahead and take you to some of our local favorites? It's on term limits. This is what we're talking about. We can go ahead and shoot over there real quick.
Please.
It's always fun.
Yes, I love it.
Okay. All right. After this woman finishes, we get to the goodies.
Followed by Jim McGoldrick.
Oh, my guy.
Oh, yeah, he starts it out.
Oh, boy.
This lady's before. You want me to fast
Good
forward?
evening. First, I want to say farewell to our board members whose terms are about to come to an end.
They only have
I want to thank you for your service to our town. I come before you to publicly express my objection to the local law under consideration that would impose term limits on the elected officials of town supervisor, town council members, town clerk, receiver of taxes, supervisor of highways. The reason I oppose this is threefold. One, it removes the power of us voters to either continue with or reject our elected officials. It is the ultimate employee review. To impose term limits effectively takes the choice to keep a good performing elected official away from us voters. In a sense, it feels undemocratic. Number two, unintended consequences. Whenever we change leadership, especially in the supervisor, clerk, and highway department, there was a huge learning curve to be experienced by the incoming administration. Institutional knowledge is lost. This not only costs money, resulting in potential real costs, it results in more retirees.
Thank you, Kathleen.
Thank you. Here's our buddy.
He's horrible. Very funny.
Pretty much everything's been covered on this. I would term limits, but Gene Cook, as a matter of fact, sat down one day and spoke about a few issues with me, and I'm actually supporting the term limits, but I do think it should be 3 terms, not 2 terms, because I feel everybody should have some kind of learning curve to get in there and give them some time to get.
It is 3.
It is going to be 3. All right.
Gene really changed that.
Okay. Thank you.
No, it was Tracy. Here we go.
We did it.
Gene and Tracy.
They're so catty. They really are.
Not until you call.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Supervisor. And thank you to all the elected officials, both individually and collectively, for your service to the town. There's been a lot of dissension and disagreement here and there, but in the big picture, you've all done, like I said, individually and collectively, things that benefit this town. So I thank you personally and on behalf of Huntington Matters for that. Term limits were brought up first by Councilman Cook, then seconded by Councilwoman Edwards. Civics United made it a cornerstone of their civic pledge for the candidates running in this election cycle for town positions. Huntington Matters, Greenlawn Civic Association, we're all in favor. The 3 terms we feel is the right number. Personally, I feel that the applicability to the administrative people, both the receiver and the town clerk, should not apply to this. I think that it should just be the policymakers. That's my own personal opinion. So once again, thank you very much. Happy holidays and Happy New Year.
Thank you. Jennifer Thompson, followed by Hector Davila.
Oh, God.
She's so classy.
Hi, good
though.
evening. I also wanted to come out and speak in favor of term limits. When I ran, I was very vocal about my stance on it. And so I thank you for bringing this forward and considering it tonight. On a personal level, I would say that I would like Joanne Rea to be our town clerk until the end of time. She's been wonderful, and I'd love for her to pass the baton when she's ready, but certainly I do appreciate you bringing this forward. And I also want to say thank you. Thank you, Frank, for your support of me and for your kind words and for coming in partnership with the Northport School District in our time of need with the Life Associary. So thank you for that. Thank you, Tracy, for your service, and Susan, good luck as you move forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Hector Davila, followed by Nancy.
Hector always have something to say.
Hi, good
Always.
evening. My name's Hector Davila, and I'm in favor of term limits simply because that does prevent abuse of power. And I think all of us in this room are very well aware of President Washington, who imposed his own term limits by not running again for a third term because of the same reasons. And we didn't have a problem until FDR ran. And it is a real issue. And we want to make sure that nobody here becomes a monarchy and abuses their power and their privilege. The other thing too, which previous speaker spoke about, was that the civics groups are all in favor of Gene Cook's
Don't
bill
even get me started,
to
Hector.
impose term limits. Okay, so thank you very much. I want to just
Not
say
all the civic
congratulations.
groups, just the
Most of
civic
them,
groups
correct, most of them, and the ones that I attended. Thank you for correcting me. And I want to say I had a lot of fun running. It was a great experience. I'll do it again. And congratulations to everybody on
See you soon.
their.
Thank you. Nancy Gamble.
No surprise, I'm in favor of term limits.
No.
But there's a reason. Our president of the United States is limited to 8 years.
Thank God.
You guys are asking, I don't care which one. Wait, you're on my time.
She's so feisty. I love
Excuse
her.
me, this is my time.
Give her 15 seconds. Would you?
Okay, this is proposing 12 years. I think that's a very reasonable amount of time. It's also a good amount of time for the learning curve and everything else to be dealt with. I do believe that the receiver of taxes and the town clerk should be omitted from this because of the aforementioned issues. It just seems like it was never allowed to be brought forward when those two were excluded, and now it is when they are included. I think it gives you checks and balances. There's also a lot of power when you are in the power position and you're up for election. There is so much more power that you have than of somebody else that's trying to come for the position. I don't care what party you are. I was for this with Democrats. I'm for this with Republicans. I don't really care. I just think the power needs to be in the people, and you always have the power to say no in an election.
Thank you, Nancy.
Oh, wow.
See ya. I love her though. Goodness, Frankie. Last town board meeting is going out with a bang. So those are some of our local favorites who appear on a lot of the blogs. You see Rob Rockline everywhere. I love him. I don't have anything bad to say about him. It's really just the civics in general.
I was, and then Hector spoke about the civics, Civics United. Here's my thing. How are you going to have a Civics United if your leader or the person who's helping running the organization doesn't really believe in uniting everyone? That's my first
one. Which leader? Which group? Which one? Come on. We have 5 to choose from. We have 5 fingers.
I don't understand. And then Hector's going to say, oh, all the civics. No, they don't represent all the civics. Just because the name is Civics United doesn't mean they represent all the civics.
Those civics, none of them even represent me. None of them will even have me as a member.
So I'm pretty sure we're not in the clique either. And they have their ringleader, Mr. Spoochies. He doesn't like people that look like me, so I know I'm not part of that clique. And
he certainly doesn't like me.
I be a thorn in his side for every single thing he tries to accomplish under anything named United. I will really be, because he's openly, dare I say, racist, but he's openly against uniting everyone. I don't really know how we're.
I'm going to agree with the uniting. I'm going to agree with that part, because he completely abandoned Huntington Station. He took his snake oil salesman show over to Harbor Fields, back over into the neighborhood that didn't even start this fight with him. Yeah.
I don't have
a
problem
like me, because he doesn't like my friends. So how shall I do that?
We can't say united, you know.
Lisa, you've been around since the beginning. You've been around Gerard, all this. There's so much going on with everything from the beginning. It's not about uniting. It's about staying relevant for them at this point, I think. They latch on to any new group that seems to have any life being breathed into them, and then we're united with you now, and we're going to have a meeting. And then they go away. And then they come back.
I thought it was odd. What I really thought was odd was that Hector spoke of them. There was other talks of the United Civics wanting the term limits, yet no one was there to actually represent the How does that work? Where was Stephen at then?
Where was Stephen? Why didn't Stephen speak out about term limits if he's the United speaker? Where were you? And remember, I just gave a breakdown earlier about how the public hearings work, right? You have to do the revolution, you get the second, you have a hearing. Our last episode, Lisa, it was you and I, and we walked through the town board meeting, and there was a public hearing for a high density project, and there was all these civic groups. There was a whole bunch of them. And not the United Civics of Huntington. I don't know where you were. You weren't on. You didn't speak. So how are you speaking out for everybody? It's like you're just grabbing onto the coattails. And it's funny because these other people are like, oh, well, you know what? Like, Hector, I'm sorry if you watch or whatever. I like you, dude, but you're grabbing onto the coattails that maybe you're not seeing is a disillusionment. Just like you say, oh, CNN is this and this and this and this and everything else. This is an illusion of something that exists. It's not real. People speak for themselves. This group is non-existent. They're preaching to the choir. Lisa, you were at their last meeting. It was a meeting of all the people. How many? It was 35 people to represent 7 civic groups in a room. How much support is that? More people watch our videos.
Yeah.
And we're not united.
We're not united. Reunited. Feels so good.
Throw that in there. We're not united. We're just women. I don't know. It's just interesting. I think we have to stay vigilant. One thing I didn't want to mention, when we spoke before the video, we talked about the town clerk and the tax receiver of taxes. Oh, yeah. Now I see what you're trying to say, right. Because no one really wants to have term limits for those two, and right. They lumped everything together. Now I see what you're saying. So that makes sense.
They don't make policy. Like, you want term limits. I want term limits. But it seems like every time they put it up, it fails because of the bookkeeping positions.
Right.
They're vitally important that come with the historical knowledge that people need.
I would agree with that.
Yeah.
I would agree with that. Makes sense. When you look at it and you hear, and now you put everything together.
Well, if you look at it and you say, okay, they put this bill up and it failed. Why did it fail? It failed because of Joanne Ray. Okay, and they put it up again. Why did it fail? Because Joanne Ray is friggin' awesome, man. She's the oldest, longest serving in the history of the United States. She actually got an award for that 3 years ago, that she was the longest serving. Wow. So the knowledge.
It's been forever.
I think it's her name that's under her is LuAnn Eldridge. I may have her name wrong. I don't think that I do, though. But I will say that when Joanne decides to retire, and I hope it's a retirement, not a death. I think she's a wonderful person. But I hope that LuAnn is the one who comes after her, because all of that shared institutional knowledge, LuAnn has been by her side. So I really do hope that they do pursue term limits again, and they make it for policymakers so that we can kind of get there. We do need to get there in some form. Come on, the PTA has term limits. Come on. Come on.
I think 12 years is sufficient.
Yeah. Oh, it's more than enough.
That gives you time to implement your program. It gives you time to see it through, and then it gives you enough time to train the next person that may come in. I think that's more than adequate.
I think so too. I think it's fair. It's more than fair. It's very sufficient. So I hope that the new board puts it up.
There's no argument.
See some of the notes I have that I need to follow up on for us. Test the water. We're gonna do it. So we should. I don't know how much that costs, but oh, some of this I'm not even going to show my full deck here. We have about 10 minutes left. Do you want to bounce over from town real quick to county? County at 6 o'clock tonight voted. I know they voted to.
Lisa's always so creepy with her.
Go ahead, say it. Go ahead, Lisa. You got to say it to put it on the screen.
What? Oh.
You got to give it noise.
Oh. So what does it say? Suffolk County. What does it say?
Okay's bill.
Suffolk County Committee okays bill on public financing of campaigns. That's really just a fancy way to say we're going to steal more from you. We're just going to become bigger crooks and bigger thieves. Look at that thief.
How they want us to fund. They're them running for office now.
This is disgusting. How, again, with the same questions I always have. How is this legal? How is this allowed? Who allowed it?
Make the laws. Anything is legal when you make the laws.
I hate to agree, but
where's the protest? I know, I agree too. I mean, I know what you're saying, but it still doesn't make any sense whatsoever. Where's the protest? Nobody gives a crap. We're just going to lay down and come and take money out of our pockets. This makes no sense. What the hell?
When I thought that, I was like, I mean, how much are we going to keep paying? Like
up to $1 million per campaign. And you know, we've gone through it. How do you get on the ballot? Oh, and my favorite part is over in the Facebook page, Long Island Activists. They're like, this is so great. We can finally buy back our democracy.
Oh my God.
Have you walked around in your pictures to get your ass on the ballot and put yourself in front of a party to perform for them to tell you that, no, we're not going to run you? Perhaps you should primary us so we could sue you off the ballot before that even happens. So you're just funding the cronies.
I think, you know, campaign funding should come from your campaign. I'm not really, you know, unless it's a personal donation.
You raise your own damn money, and yeah, there's a cap on it. Yeah, cap on him, cap on her, and a cap on how much you're allowed to take in. All of it. But it shouldn't come out of my pocket.
Yeah, because what if I don't like the candidate? What if I don't support what the candidate is doing? Why would I want to help the campaign?
With a 22% voter rate, how about if I don't give a about politics at all? Why am I funding it?
Maybe the civic groups can raise money for their candidates. Leave me out of it.
22% of the people actually vote that are registered to vote. That are registered to vote, 22% on average vote. So why is 100% of the people now going to be required to finance your campaign?
Really
80 what percent gave up on you because they realized it's a big scam?
Well, I wonder if that 80% will be happy now that they're going to pay.
They're not going to know. They're going to complain like they do in the elections. And then when it comes time to really make a change, we're going to see the same 22 people.
Boom.
That's work.
Boom.
That's
how
true.
it works. That's how it always works. So until we get people more
So
engaged.
mad. And then you want to know what you want to know what they do, then they go on Facebook. And then you want to know what they complain about? The fire department didn't come to my block with Santa. I mean, have you lived anywhere else on the planet to understand that you're so lucky that Santa even comes near your neighborhood on the fire truck? How about thank you? How about thank you to our firemen?
It's a sense of entitlement.
Really is.
It's a sense of entitlement, because I can tell you right now, there are quite a few areas that I know for a fact don't have a Santa coming through on a fire truck because the crime is so high. You know, they're doing other things.
How about they don't even have a Santa come into their house, and you're complaining that the fire truck didn't come down your block, or little Johnny had to run in his flip flops down the. When my husband, I was like, I don't go to that page anymore because of that. Please don't even bring it to me and tell me what's happening over there.
And speaking of that, I don't understand that page, and I've been on that page for some time now, and sometimes I comment. I try not to, because it always turns into a battle. It always turns personal. Who in the world is monitoring that page? I mean, because these people will attack you if you say the sun is rising at 6:42 and it really rose at 6:42.
Racist.
Why? How do we? Because we disagree. How do we?
You're sexist. How dare you wake up early?
What? And I'm like, well, where's the monitoring going? Who's in charge? Nobody.
Well, it's not even just that. I mean, it shouldn't be up to another human being to police the behavior of other human beings. It's the people.
Can the Republicans find the bathroom at town hall?
But that's why you have moderators, and that's why you have admins.
No, I gotta say no, because I run the Parents of Huntington page. We've run it very successfully for a long time, and adults understand these are the rules. You're the adult. We haven't deleted anybody in a really long time, and because we have this, I delete spam. It's advertising. The rules are very simple. They're not a Bible. You don't have to. And for whatever reason, I think Lisa was saying earlier when we were having our private chit chat, there was a lot of people who came in right before the election, and they all have a huge sense of entitlement. It's completely polluted that page in the name of getting numbers.
Yeah, but like you said, your page that you have, your followers have an understanding. You don't have to police them. Unfortunately, those followers don't have an understanding. So you need policing. I mean, you should be able to have a conversation with adults without the back and forth. But I can tell you, at any given point in the day, you're going to see someone going back and forth. And it's something, sometimes it's so trivial. Like, you have nothing else to do with your time than to argue with this person about the paint that's put on the wall. What?
They have a lot of fake accounts on that page, though, as well. They've allowed in, and if you click on any number of them, you can tell, bar none, somebody made up this page. Like, if you look, it's got like 8 friends, and no one has the same last name. And they're there, they can say anything they want and aggravate the situation. And because they're allowing people on they're doing it for the sake of, we can say we have a lot of people here now. Instead of, they're choosing quantity over quality. And it's amazing because a lot of the people who have a lot of quality to offer, like myself, are banned. I've said this in the past, there's a Facebook page with over 2,700 people, and it was formed from people that were deleted off the page due to heavy moderating because they didn't like their political ideology.
That's crazy to me.
There's over moderating, and then there's moderating to a point of, let everybody be adults. And they haven't figured out that finesse yet.
And you could be a bully on the page, but you just can't say
ask. You can't say ask. They made my husband close from ASS to ARSE, because that's what they're concerned about. you know.
Take a bully, make fun of somebody, and
all I could do is look away. That's what I do to my kids. When they start acting crazy and I don't want to yell, I just look away.
Meanwhile, the last year, how many people either on one side of the spectrum or the other side of the spectrum have used the word pussy in a sentence in federal politics? But you can't say arse, ass, arse. But pussy, totally fine. Oh, by the way, Lisa, there's a pussy behind you.
I know.
Jenny,
oh my God.
After 10:45, we can't let Jenny talk anymore.
That's pretty much what happens. We deteriorate after 10:45. We're gonna have to move this time up.
10:45 because we lose.
I'm completely classy. 9:46, it's over.
Let's not get to 11. Oh my God.
Please, all right. So yeah, no, we are at that point. We do want to let our viewers, which pretty much consists of my mom and Dana's mom, know that we will be back. No, it's a slow time of year, and we understand that we're past the election, and that's when most people are fully engaged in politics. However, we have developed a viewership, and we have a responsibility to those people that we will come here and bring them the best information as well as the best intentions as we can. However, we're going to be on a hiatus. My son is getting shipped away. I'm not allowed to say where. He is serving for the United States Air Force. I'm going to go visit him for a little bit. So we're going to be down for the holidays as well. We want to spend time with our family. Hopefully all of us ladies will get together and bake some cookies and have fun and great conversation. But we'll be back to you on Tuesday, January 16th, 2018. We'll bring you, hopefully, I'm not sure when the inaugurations are, but we'll recap wherever we are, when we are at that moment. So any final thoughts from you ladies?
Well, by the time we come back, January 2018, I guess we can start opening up by finding out how everybody's adjusting to the plastic bag saga.
Oh, we didn't even get into that tonight.
Too much going on. Just get your reusable bags ready.
I'm carrying this stuff out. I'm gonna have stuff in my pocket. Hope they don't arrest me.
That's it. I put it in my pocket already tonight. I was like, oh, well, I paid for it, but I'm going to do like Costco where you just shove it all in the back of the car and screw bags, you know?
I'm gonna be like, whatever.
Or bring some boxes, stick it in the car. I got some bins in the car.
Yeah.
Why not?
Yeah.
Call it a day.
Yep.
I'm going to take trailer living to a whole new level. Shove it in the back of that minivan. There's Tide rolling around in the back. It's cool. All right. Well, Huntington, we always enjoy coming here with you, and we'll see you in a few weeks. And we hope that everyone enjoyed the Huntington View. Have a good evening.
Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye. Bye.